Well, we're going to try this one more time. Sorry for having all the trouble. Really don't know what's going on with the internet this morning. How you doing, Marianne? Usually we have more trouble when it's really windy or cloudy, but not the case this morning. How's everybody doing this Saturday morning? You can see Coyote there. He's losing a lot of his on his and he's actually looking pretty good. Hopefully the live stream stays working a little bit better. So sorry we're a little bit late, but just by about an hour. That's very cool, Marianne. Glad to hear. Yeah, that's kind of our goal, is just to make some awareness about these animals and just show people how really cool they are. A lot of times people just get the videos of these guys attacking people and stuff in Yellowstone. They don't really get the true picture. So we enjoy being able to show people what these animals are really like. Good to see you guys from all over the country and all over the world. In the afternoon, just after lunch. Crazy the time difference. Yeah, you did hear a bobwhite background. The bobwhites are very vocal always in the spring. We used to have quite a few around here, and the numbers dropped a lot. Coyotes got into them, from what I understand, coyotes and hunters, and they're starting to come back heavily, which is really cool. I really love the sound of them. Sometimes they'll be up on the fences in the morning just calling. No, I don't really have an update on the temporary fencing. I haven't really tried too many new things. The reason for that is I need to set up my water system first. I need to get some good water running through the pasture in a way that I can water them in whatever paddock that I set up. So been focusing on that a little bit, and got some other stuff going on too. So hopefully soon. I'm not sure if we'll get it all taken care of this summer or not. They should have plenty of grass this summer though, if I can't figure it out. Yeah, I did see Dusty hitting, or Dunbar hitting Dusty's UTV. They get ornery, and Dunbar is one of them. Morning, Warren. Appreciate you guys supporting our channel. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this, so thank you very much. Let me ask this, is there anybody watching that raises buffalo currently or has ever raised them before? I'm always really curious as to how many people watch our channel that actually raise the animal. Every once in a while, people coming in from bison producers themselves, which is really cool. One person left a comment and said that they were the only bison producer in New Zealand, which I thought was really awesome. Good to hear, Marianne. Morning, Shelley. Need to consider selling shirts of your bison to make more money for projects. I actually am in the works of that, so you will hear an update shortly. That's cool. You know someone 15 minutes away that raises bison. Awesome. Georgia Hillbilly, no, I do not have a drone. I would love to be able to get a drone and get some good aerial shots of these guys sometime, but currently don't have anything. They get so close sometimes, I always get tempted to reach out and grab a thing of fur off. It hangs so low, but I'm afraid of it. They may not like it. Yeah, it is really funny to watch them jump and play. They'll sit there and bounce on all fours. It's like they make the ground look like it's made out of rubber. They're really hilarious. Morning, Nas. Marilyn, how are they doing with minerals? They are doing really well. So it hasn't been raining as much lately. So I've got that trough out there that I've been keeping full, and so it hasn't been too bad. I'm gonna try to get some sort of mineral feeder that's a little bit more covered at some point, but haven't worried about it too much. We're starting to get into the summer months to where it's not raining as much. So that's really the concern, is like the rain washing away the minerals out of the trough. Morning, Rebecca from Missouri. Awesome. Neighbors. Georgia Hillbilly, can bison eat alfalfa hay or alfalfa cubes? Yes, they can. I had my last herd, I tried to feed them alfalfa cubes. They munched on it a little bit. The reason why I did that was because I'm not that much of a fan of feeding these guys range cubes, honestly. I think a grass-fed animal is healthier, but I do this as an insurance policy so that I know that I can call them if they ever get out, or I need to call them into a corral or something. The best way to handle these guys is not to push them, but to call them. So it makes working them a lot easier, and the amount that I give them is just, it's basically like candy. So I did try alfalfa, and they ate on it a little bit, but they weren't too enthused. Maybe if I trained them to it, they might do it a little bit better. How far are they from me from now? They're only a couple feet. So I'm just on the other side of this fence right now, and they will get a lot closer to me when I'm on the other side of the fence, because they see it as a barrier that I can't cross as easily, and it gives me a little bit of security that they're not gonna try to push into me also. So always taking precautions with these guys. They're not crazy, they're not mean or anything like that, but you just want to take your precautions. Jackie, yes, I did catch Dunbar or Dusty's last video. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about with these guys. Like, you know, Dunbar isn't being mean or anything, but he's trying to play, and you just want to be careful that you're not out in the middle of the field by yourself when a 1,500, 2,000 pound animal wants to play with sharp horns. So you just have to treat them a little bit different. Rhinos are moved in the parks in the UK by tractors. They have to be locked, so the moves are daily. Yeah, that's interesting. A lot of people push these animals with trucks or UTVs if they're in a big open area, which is understandable. It's like, you get a couple thousand acres and it's hard to call them, but the drawbacks to pushing them is they will push back, and then you tend to get a demeanor where they want to kind of attack the UTV or the truck that is pushing them down the road, even if you're not pushing them. So my approach to this has been a lot different. I don't ever really want to push them unless I walk around and just give them slight pressure, but I never really want to be very aggressive with them at all. The best way to handle these guys is low stress, very slow, very deliberate, and you'll have a lot less problems that way. Sandy's Dunbar acting that way because of the baby bison, just wondering. Probably not. They can act that way because of the baby bison, but just knowing the Dunbar's demeanor, I've seen him in person multiple times, and he is just I don't know, they get to that age and they get really playful and ornery. And Big Joe, he's a different animal. He's more docile, and so it's just like some teenagers are ornery and some teenagers aren't. And Dunbar is basically a teenager. They don't really mature until they're about 5 to 7 years old, and then you can get they can get ornery after that, honestly, and then they kind of get to the old man stage and get cranky. So they definitely all have their stages. Walking coyote right in front of us, he is like just coming out of the calf stage, so it's really interesting watching his demeanor. Like, he was really docile, and he still is, but you can tell he wants to get a little testy. He basically is kind of coming into his own, and he wants to make sure that everybody knows that he's in charge. So I think some people think it's a drawback, and how they can kind of get a little crazy sometimes, but honestly I think it's just absolutely awesome. A 2,000 pound Angus bull is going to do the same thing, so this isn't new at all. But these guys are just really fun to interact with. Hi Pyro, you want to ride one? Well, I've thought of doing the same thing myself, but whenever I imagine it, it doesn't end well. Yeah, you're right, Marianne. Any animals, you have to be careful with them. You know, it's like saying that elephants are mean. It's like, well, not really. I mean, they can be, but you get a giant animal, any animal that's bigger than you that can do harm, you just always want to be careful. Yeah, you thought it was amazing to see Dunbar lick the baby's arm. Yeah, they can be very, very gentle. I've got a friend of mine who told me he had a massive old bull. I want to say he was like 7 to 10 years getting into that ornery stage, and they will develop an attachment to actually people. And what he was telling me, his worker, he was telling me that he was up on a fence, or basically right next to a fence one day, a barbed wire fence, and he had his arm on it, and the bull came up to him from the middle of the pasture, away from the rest of the herd, and came over to the fence and just licked his arm. And that's very unheard of. These animals don't do that normally. He had, 160 to 200 animals, and so they don't really get the interaction of what these guys are getting with me. So, they're going to be a little bit more standoffish from people. But he said he came up and licked his arm, and then he just stared at him. And I guess from then on, for a couple of years, he would just only be able to get close to this guy. And it was really cool. He was saying that, up until the point that he died, he kind of had this little connection with him that he had no idea why. But that bison really liked him. Yep, they're pretty chill today. Enjoying the sunshine. Yeah, they need to be brushed. I don't think I want to do it though. They may not like me after that. Is it true that when they run in a pack you can feel it on the ground? Yes, it is. You can almost feel these guys even. There's only 6 of them. But yeah, you get a herd of 100 of them or something. It is literally amazing. I mean, it sounds like thunder. You got some exotic animals in the UK, Tracy? Yeah. I really like domestic animals myself. I'm really a fan of them. I think they're all kind of put on parts of the earth for a reason. When we start messing around with them, they can start wreaking havoc on other animals. The ecosystem is all designed to be able to work together. So it's one of the reasons why I'm a fan of raising these guys, because they're domestic. Yeah, Frisk. It's Christmas. It is a good weather for the stream. Finally. It's been cloudy and rainy. What is the estimated lifespan of a bison, James? In captivity, they can live to about 25, 30 years old or more. In the wild, they'll live somewhere around 15 to 20 years. A friend of mine had one that lived to 38 years old. She had a calf every single year up until the day or the year that she died. So when they have an easy life in captivity and they have good minerals and they are not having to search for water and things like that, they can live a long life. Yeah, they might love me if I brushed them from a distance. Yeah, honestly it's hard for me because these animals are really cool. They're really fun to be around, but it truly is a balance, honestly, as to how much you want to treat them as pets, because they're not domesticated. They are a wild animal. So if you start hand feeding them or start petting them or something like that, you just need to know that your approach with them is going to have to be completely different. Because honestly, an animal that has a little bit of a fear of you is a good thing, because it helps with safety factors. So I feed them. I've tried to hand feed them before, but I really don't push it very hard because I'm not that, like, personally I want them to eat out of my hand, right? But then I know down the road that if they eat out of my hand, you know, if I'm out in the middle of the field and let's just say I don't have any feed one day and they get ornery and want feed, they might do something a little weird. So my approach to it is a little bit kind of standoffish, but yet I want them to be able to be friendly to me too, if that kind of makes sense. It's a little long-winded, but yeah, there's definitely a balance with this. Morning, Archer. Marianne, yeah, you wish you could feel that. It would be an amazing feeling of watching them run. It really is. Even just watching these 6 animals run across the field is really cool. They go from just sitting here walking like this, super docile, to just all of a sudden in a full sprint. It's just, it always is a good reminder that you want to be careful around them because how fast they are. Yeah, definitely safety first. That's kind of the way I see it. You know, it's like I love these animals to death, but you know, safety is first when it comes to these guys, for your safety and theirs. You know, if they were to do something weird and injure you or anything like that, you know, you would have to treat them differently. So it's better for you and them just to keep a little bit of a safe distance. There's a guy I interviewed by the name of Zach Bell. You can find his interview on one of my earlier videos, and he talks about that a little bit, of how, you know, he wants to be able to call them into the field to work them or do whatever, but yet he doesn't want to be able to get them too friendly. In the video that I interviewed him, he has a little calf that came up to him and he petted her on the head, and he was telling me that, you know, he doesn't even really like that. Like, personally, yeah, he likes it, but it makes him nervous that it might cause problems down the road. Yes, Marianne, I am planning on getting more. So hopefully this fall, if everything works out, we'll have more on the ranch. So the plan is about every 6 months or so we're going to be buying more. Yep, they have a good mutual respect. So yeah, Dunbar sticks his head in the bucket in his UTV range cubes. Yeah, Dunbar is definitely a friendly animal. When I went out there and interviewed Dusty, my first video, if you look, was interviewing Dusty, and Dunbar just stuck his head in my lap. It definitely took me back because I raised these animals for a little while, and I'd never seen them that friendly in person before. So it was pretty wild. But Dusty knows what he's doing. He's off, definitely tries to take precautions with them and everything. So he tries to make sure that they are, you know, staying a fair distance away, and keeps safety precautions in mind. Which one is in the pasture right now? The girl right in front of me is, believe it's Strong Wind. I'm trying to see her face. No, it's Red Prairie. Yeah, Red Prairie's there. They're all relaxing, sitting down. See if I can turn this camera for you guys and see the rest of them sitting down a little bit. Did I ever feed them molasses and bran like a treat? No, I haven't. I actually talked to a grain elevator this week, and I'm gonna get some bulk molasses from them for some other reasons. But yeah, we're gonna use a little bit of molasses just as a treat. Will I buy more yearlings or adult cows that are breeding age? It depends. So I will buy, my default is always going to go to calves because I can train them, and they can grow up on the ranch and be more docile. But if I do come across full-size cows or yearlings that I know where the ranch came from, or I know what the ranch is and I know that they're gentle animals, then I will buy those. But my default is always going to be kind of going back to calves, and most of the time I'm going to be buying these guys at auction, and I'm not going to know every single producer, so that's kind of my default. So we'll see. I would love to be able to buy bred cows. That is a really good way to do it, but you have to make sure that they are gentle animals. Yeah, they are digesting their snacks. These guys chew their cud just like cattle. So you'll find them out in the middle of the field just like this, and they'll be sitting there chewing their cud, digesting everything. You're right. Morning, Crystal. Are they expensive to purchase? They sell for more than beef calves. So the price of these guys has ranged quite a bit. Fortunately, the prices have been up for a while, and it's been pretty steady. for the last, I would say, probably 20 years or so, 15 or so. You know, I've been messing with these guys, at least researching them for the last 10 years, and the prices have been really good. Beef cows and calves, you know, you're gonna look at somewhere of the $600 to $800 to $1,000 range, depending upon the year and what the market's doing. With these guys, you're gonna look at somewhere on the average of, you know, low 1,000s to high closer to 2,000s. Depends upon the animal. I picked up some of these guys for about 1,400. Picked up a couple of other ones for 1,500. A couple of the other ones for I think 11 or 1,200. So, and that was probably a fairly good price, honestly. You can get a little bit better price at auction than you can through an individual. But like I said, you're not going to know where they come from at the auction all the time. So that's one of the reasons why you're paying for that through the individual. You're paying for knowing where they came from, and you're paying for hopefully a better demeanored animal of a guarantee. Unlike cattle, do the bison come into season only once a year? Yes. So they are a bovine like cattle, but they rut like deer. It's very interesting, and I'm not sure if cattle used to do that. I don't know if that's something that's gotten bred into cattle. I'd like to do a little research on that. If somebody knows, let me know. But yes, they typically will rut once a year, and it'll be July and August is usually when the rut is. They can get a little testy through the rut, so you want to be careful. I was out with a friend of mine. We were looking at his herd during the rut. He had a bull that he told me that chased him earlier that day. He was a younger bull. He was a couple years old, and he was trying to establish his dominance. And so we went to go check on his herd, and we were probably, as far as what you guys can see, that barn in a UTV, and there was 160, 180 animals, and he saw that UTV. He came straight out of the herd and started in basically a jog to us, trying to establish his dominance because it's rut. And believe it or not, that's actually a good sign. A friend of mine he was out there with me, he had raised animals for over 30 years, and he told me that that's actually the sign of a really good breeding bull, because he's very protective, and he's very aggressive, meaning he's really wanting to breed, and it shows that he's got a lot of whatever that is inside of him, basically testosterone. So those bulls definitely aren't the worst thing in the world. Do I ever borrow a bull during mating season to change the bloodline? I haven't yet, and I probably won't ever borrow one. If I do, I will probably buy a separate one, run a couple different herds, just like what Dusty's doing over at Cross Timbers Bison. But I had some really long conversations with Doc Parsons, and believe it or not, that isn't as much of a concern as you would think with the bloodline. Basically, what inbreeding does with animals is it magnifies what is there. So if you have really good traits, it will magnify it. If you have really bad traits, it will magnify it. So there's definitely some management practices that come into play. Morning, Carolyn. Daytime, good morning. Yeah, I actually had a mineral block with my last herd, and I didn't like how they consumed it. You want them to be able to consume it well, so that's why I moved to a powder or a loose mineral this time. So they are consuming it a lot better. It doesn't matter if they are pooping it out. They will poop it out onto the field, and that will actually go into the soil and into the plants. And then the plants will absorb it, and then they'll eat it later. So it is okay if they consume a lot of it. I'm totally fine with that. It's actually the more the better. Yeah, the UK, they have those big brushes. Yeah, I saw one guy's channel just the other day, and he had big brushes for his cows. These guys would probably like that. I thought about it, but I think they might get too spooked. But they definitely, there's a lot of trees around, and they use all the trees. Most of the time, those brushes for the cows are used when they're like in barns and out in wide open areas where they can't brush against trees and stuff. These guys have plenty of trees and stuff, so they should be all right. But who knows? Maybe about it in the future. I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks for sharing the cost info. Maybe you could consider a way if we wanted to send you money in support of your videos, but could help you with your projects. It'd be a fun part of. Yeah, thank you. Definitely always looking to move forward. So been actually working on some merchandise. I thought about starting up a Patreon. Not sure if enough people would be interested in that or not, but we'll see. But yeah, right now, you know, anything you guys can do to help us, sharing our videos and stuff like that, that's tremendously helpful. Yep, I did see Dunbar doing that. He was sidestepping at the buggy. It's pretty funny. He wanted to play. Thank you, David. Make sure to hit the like button. David, that's awesome. Appreciate it. All I've seen, Cam, all I've seen of bison operations is plains bison. Is there equivalent with woods bison? Yes, there is actually more woods bison in Canada than there is plains bison. So it is definitely regional. Here in the Midwest, you will see more plains bison than you will see woods bison. Might see if I can move this camera a little bit for you guys and get a little bit better angle of them. See if I can do it without spooking them. Hopefully that's better. See strong wind there, rolling around. She's probably wishing that was dirt or mud. They like getting muddy. Georgia Hillbilly, you heard bison want to be long length. Can bison be great quality but be on the shorter lengths? Yes, absolutely. looking for long length, you're looking for something that the rest of the producers want. So if you've got a shorter bison, that's not going to hinder breeding or anything like that. It's just going to be not as desirable to the other handlers. You know, big animals, big, strong, tall animals are basically what other producers are looking for, and so that's why you're really looking for that. These animals were believed that they were a lot larger than they are now, and it's kind of controversial. I talked to Doc Parsons about it a little bit. The reason for that is when these animals were massacred, they thought that the hunters would go out and find a herd of bison, and the animals that were more aggressive and sought out the hunters were shot first, and the ones that ran away were believed that they were the smaller animals. So that being said, they thought that the animals today were descendants of the smaller ones. I don't know if that's the case or not, because generally the thought was that generally if an animal is more aggressive, it's going to be a bigger, stronger, higher quality animal. But talked to Doc Parsons a little bit about it, and he was saying that they're actually getting closer to the size to where they used to be now. We've been trying to bring up the numbers of these animals. That's been the number one focus for the last 100 years. And now they actually have enough diversity that we can start breeding for size. So you can start getting that size back into them. So Doc Parsons actually had a bull that was 3,000 pounds. And I wish I could see it, but he said it was absolutely amazing. So if you look at Dusty Baker's page, is Big Joe 1,850 pounds or something like that, if I remember right. Now think of basically double that, 3,000 pound animal. So they used to be absolutely massive. So some of these animals can get pretty big. Am I a member of the National Bison Association? Yes, I am. That was actually the first resource that I did before I had animals. They offer an online course, and I went through both of those online courses and really have some really good education. What's the temperature here today? It is about, I would say, 75, almost 80 degrees. Really nice out. A little on the warm side, actually. Yeah, you're right, David. As far as the inbreeding goes, we need to remember that there was less than 100 bison total after the big kill years and years ago, so I don't think that's going to affect them at all. Yeah, you're right. There was believed that there was somewhere around 100 to 1,000 animals, because they found some pockets that were a little bit more than 100. But yes, you know, at least 1,000 animals have come from that, and so the inbreeding isn't as much of a concern as you would imagine. You know, definitely if you've got some traits of your animals that don't look very good, you know, hip problems or something like that, you're not going to want to inbreed that, because like I said, it's going to magnify it. Morning, Robin from Southeast Dakota. I don't think I ever have been to Bibbin. No, the Bibbin Roundup, I have not. Sounds fun. What is the largest weight a bison can be? I would probably say somewhere around 3,000 pounds. Naturally, that's probably going to be one of the largest. That's the largest that I've heard of, anyway. I've seen a rancher from one of the Carolinas here on YouTube that bred the wood with the plains and got over 3,000 pounds. Yeah, that might be the case. He might have, but one of the problems with breeding the woods with the plains, you get really big because you get what. But sometimes those animals can be sterile. Actually, most of the time they can be. So it's interesting. Like from what I understand, the first generation will be really large, and then the subsequent generations after that actually start getting smaller again. So it's like you get this huge growth spurt and then it dies back down. In the future, do you plan on keeping all the calves to build your herd, or will you sell the male calves? So it depends. The plan is probably to sell at least most of the male calves, and I'll probably keep the females. But it depends, you know, if I get a really nice male calf, then I might grow him up and put him on another herd or something. Kind of have to play this stuff by ear a little bit. Morning from Australia. Awesome. How fast can the bison run? They say somewhere between 35 and 40 miles an hour. They do not look it at all, but they will flat out book. Their trachea is larger than any other land mammal, their size, or proportionate to size, I should say, and that allows them to take in oxygen faster than basically anything else. So they can go from 0 to their top speed, whatever that is, 30, 40 mile an hour. Obviously, each individual animal is going to be a different speed, but they can go from 0 to their top speed instantly. Very cool to watch. Can the small females support the huge bulls to breed? It is a concern. So you do want to match a decent sized female with a bull. Some of those really older bulls can get really big and start injuring some of the females. So that is something to think about also. The bison roundup in southeast Dakota is amazing. You and Dusty need to come and watch these amazing animals. Yeah, that would be fun. I want to get out to the Custer State Park roundup at some point. I haven't been out there yet. I've been out to Custer, but I haven't seen the roundup. Will you eventually be raising bison for meat as well as conservation? Maybe. I don't know. It's just not a business model I have right now. There's a lot of nuances that go into that. It's basically a calf-cow operation. So we will raise cows, bulls, and then we will sell calves. Basically, I'm trying to design this ranch to be high-quality breeding stock is what we will try to make money on in the future, but we're a long ways off. Coyote is done with his resting. See him stretching over there. Well, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and end it there. I appreciate you guys sticking with me with the technical difficulties we had. I had some issues with getting the live stream up. It was supposed to go up at 8 o'clock and didn't go up till close to 9, so apologize for that, but I appreciate you guys joining anyway. Thank you for supporting our channel. Remember to like the video if you would. I appreciate it. Tell your friends about it. You know, every subscriber we get really pushes us forward, so really appreciate you guys' support. So we'll see you guys next time. Have a good weekend.